Welcome to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to helping you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most.
Well, hello and welcome to the Money and Meaning Show Perspectives broadcast. I'm Jeff Bernier. I want to start today with a question that I think more people are going to be asking. Do I still need a financial advisor in the age of artificial intelligence? And I think it's a fair question. I mean, think about what artificial intelligence, AI, can already do. It can explain financial concepts, analyze information, compare strategies, run retirement scenarios, summarize complicated documents, and help you think through questions about Social Security, Roth conversions, investments, taxes, estate planning. And, it's only going to get better. So rather than getting defensive about AI, I think those of us in the financial advice profession should acknowledge something. AI is going to replace some of what financial advisors have traditionally done. And maybe that's not a bad thing, because it forces us to ask a better question. What should a financial advisor actually be valuable for? There's an interesting historical parallel here. More than 60 years ago, Peter Drucker introduced the idea of the knowledge worker. Drucker recognized that increasingly, economic value wasn't simply going to come from physical labor, it was going to come from knowledge. For decades, financial advisors benefited from that economy. We actually knew things clients didn't necessarily know. We understood investments, retirement plans, tax rules, Social Security, and estate planning strategies. Access to that knowledge had great value. Then came the internet, and now comes artificial intelligence. Today, anyone with a phone has access to more financial information than most professionals could have accumulated in a lifetime. And AI doesn't just retrieve this information, it can also interpret it, organize it, and in some cases, apply it. So that brings me to something Chip Conley has been talking about recently. Chip is the founder of the Modern Elder Academy, and he believes we're moving from a knowledge economy towards a wisdom economy. I love his definition of wisdom. His definition of wisdom is metabolized experience mindfully shared for the good of all. Metabolized experience mindfully shared for the good of all. That's his definition of wisdom. And of course, that's very different than knowledge. Knowledge is knowing something. Wisdom is understanding what matters, what doesn't, and how to apply what we know to a real human life. And maybe AI is increasingly becoming the knowledge worker of today. And the best financial advisors increasingly need to become wisdom workers. Vanguard put out a study recently, or an article that I was reading in preparation for this episode, that makes a useful distinction between two types of work that advisors actually do. There's analytics-driven work and empathy-driven work. AI is extremely good at analytical work, the analytical side. Data gathering, cash flow modeling, even portfolio construction. It can do retirement projections, market research, and even do financial planning simulations. In many cases, AI can do this faster and more efficiently than a human being. And I think that leads to an uncomfortable conclusion for many in our profession. Some financial advice probably should be disrupted by AI. If the primary value of your advisor is producing a financial plan, creating reports, creating a portfolio allocation, or simply knowing things about money that you don't know, that value proposition is going to become increasingly more difficult to justify. Knowledge is becoming cheaper. Analysis is becoming cheaper. Portfolio construction is increasingly commoditized. So I don't think every financial advisor automatically survives this AI revolution. AI may not eliminate financial advisors, but it may eliminate financial advice that never moved beyond knowledge work. Here's where I think the distinction becomes important. AI is remarkably good at answering questions, but in financial planning, the hardest part is often knowing which questions to ask. Someone might ask, should I do a Roth conversion? But perhaps the better question involves future taxes, charitable intentions, estate goals, spending, Medicare premiums, and what you ultimately want to leave to your children. Or someone asks, can I afford to retire? AI may eventually answer that question extremely well. Perhaps the real question, however, is I've worked 35 years and my identity is tied up to my career. I have enough money, but I'm not sure what I'm retiring to. That's no longer primarily a financial question. It's a life question with financial implications. A good advisor isn't simply answering the question you brought into the room. Sometimes the value is recognizing the question you didn't know you needed to ask. There are also plenty of financial decisions where there simply isn't one mathematically correct answer. Should I retire this year or work another 2 years? Should I pay off the mortgage or keep the money invested? Should I give money to my children now or leave it to them later? Should I spend more in retirement or leave more behind? The spreadsheet can certainly help. AI can help. But ultimately, these are questions about trade-offs, and trade-offs require judgment. That's where Conley's idea of metabolized experience becomes so interesting. Wisdom develops when you've seen decisions play out over time. You've watched people navigate retirement. You've watched people experience bull markets and bear markets. You've seen families deal with inheritances. You've seen people make good decisions and decisions they later regret. Experience doesn't necessarily give you the answer, but it can help you understand the consequence and recognize the trade-offs. And that raises another question. How much does it matter if we get the decision wrong? AI may be perfectly adequate for hundreds of everyday decisions, but our desire for experienced human judgments tends to increase when the stakes increase. If you're having heart surgery, would you want AI helping analyze all the medical information? Absolutely. But do you want an experienced surgeon in the room? I do. If we're flying through a storm in an airplane, do you want sophisticated technology helping navigate the airplane? Of course you do. But I'm guessing you also want an experienced pilot in the cockpit. Now, financial planning isn't heart surgery or flying an airplane, but some financial decisions are enormously consequential and difficult to reverse. Retiring, selling a business, making a major estate planning decision, exercising large amount of company stock, changing your investment strategy during a market crisis. These may be once or twice in a lifetime decisions for you. An experienced advisor may have helped people navigate versions of them dozens or hundreds of times. The technology matters. The analysis certainly matters. But when the stakes are high, experience and judgment also matter. There's also an irony to the age of AI. We've never had access to more financial information, and we've probably never had access to more conflicting financial information. Ask whether you should pay off your mortgage, and you'll find compelling arguments on both sides. Should you own international stocks? Should you own bonds? Should you claim Social Security early? Are markets overvalued? You can find confident arguments for almost anything. And AI can potentially make all of these arguments sound very persuasive. So the challenge increasingly isn't access to information, it's discernment. What is actually supported by the evidence? What is opinion? What is simply a compelling story? And which evidence actually applies to my unique circumstances? That's one reason I believe so strongly in an evidence-based approach to both investing and financial planning. Now, evidence doesn't eliminate uncertainty, and it doesn't mean there's always one correct answer, but it does give us a foundation. We start with what the best available evidence tells us. Then we combine that evidence with client circumstances, values, and goals, and ultimately apply judgment. AI can help us gather and analyze the evidence. Wisdom helps us decide what to do with it. The article from Vanguard that I mentioned earlier argues that as AI takes over more analytical skills, behavioral coaching, goal discovery, and life planning may actually become more valuable. Think about a bear market. AI can tell you not to panic, but imagine you're 64 years old, you've just retired, you no longer have a paycheck, and your portfolio has fallen 30%. Knowing intellectually that markets historically eventually recover is one thing. Living through it is something else. There's value in having someone who knows you, knows your history, understands your plan you created together, and can say, we knew something like this would eventually happen. Let's look at your plan and determine what has actually changed. Because money isn't simply about optimization. It's about fear, security, freedom, family, identity, generosity, and purpose. Sometimes the best financial advice isn't providing someone with new information. It helps them make a good decision when their emotions are telling them to do something else. And this is why I'm so optimistic about AI. I mean, we use AI here in our firm. I use it every day. I think advisors should embrace it. If an AI can help us analyze information, research questions, prepare for meetings, and explore scenarios more efficiently, that's a good thing. Because ideally, it frees advisors to spend less time being human calculators and more time being human beings. More listening, more time asking questions, more time understanding family dynamics, more time coordinating decisions, more time helping clients navigate transitions, and more time thinking deeply about what the money is actually for. Vanguard's conclusion is that the future advice will likely be hybrid. AI providing speed, scale, and analytical power, with humans providing perspective, empathy, and judgment. And I think that's probably about right. So let's return to our original question. Do I still need a financial advisor in the age of AI? Maybe. But I think you should expect something different from your advisor. If all you're receiving is information, reports, portfolio allocation, or even just a simple written financial plan, AI should question what you're paying for. But if your advisor helps you recognize questions you didn't know to answer, if they help you separate evidence from opinion and noise, if they bring experience and judgment to high-stakes decisions, if they help you understand trade-offs when there isn't one right answer, if they help you stay grounded when markets and emotions are working against you, and if they understand not just how much money you have, but what you want the money to accomplish, then I think that's a very different value proposition. As I mentioned, Peter Drucker helped us understand the rise of the knowledge worker. Chip Conley is asking us to think about the wisdom worker. And maybe that's exactly the transition our profession needs to make. AI will increasingly know more than we do. It will calculate faster than we can. It will process more information than any human possibly could. Great advisors shouldn't be threatened by this. We should use it because our value shouldn't depend on knowing more facts than a machine. It should come from our ability to combine the power of technology and the discipline of evidence with something distinctly human. Experience, judgment, discernment, empathy, perspective, and wisdom. Perhaps the question isn't, do I need a financial advisor in the world of AI? Maybe the better question is, my financial advisor still just a knowledge worker, or are they becoming a wisdom worker? And that's a question worth asking. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Money Meaning Perspectives. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep moving forward. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Money and Meaning Show with Jeff Bernier, a show dedicated to help you gain the confidence and freedom to lead a life of personal significance and help you get your actions and resources in alignment with what matters most. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to reach out to us at moneyandmeaning@tandemgrowth.com, or you can find us on the web at www.tandemgrowth.com. Jeff Bernier is the President and Chief Investment Officer at Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This show is a production of Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC. All information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Listeners should not rely on the content of this podcast as the basis for any investment decisions. A professional advisor should be consulted and/or independent due diligence should be conducted before implementing anything discussed in this show. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Tandem Growth Financial Advisors, LLC, does not make any representations or warranties as to the accuracy, timeliness, suitability, completeness, or relevance of any information prepared by any unaffiliated third party, such as guests on the podcast, and takes no responsibility for the same.